Hi, it's time for Mid-South Viewpoint. I'm Byron Tyler. Pleasure to have you along on this edition of our program. The last time we got together, we had some friends of mine stop by, Mark and Amanda Price. What started to be a dream is now a reality. It's Camp Conquest, and we're here back for day 2 to talk about this work that's taking place right here in the Mid-South area, a brand new camp for those with special needs. Mark and Amanda, good to have you back.
Thank you for having us, Byron.
Last time we had the pleasure of having Penny. She's the mom of Annie, and talked about some of the benefits for her having Annie attend Camp Conquest. And so it was great to hear from her. And I think the thing that really stood out to me, Prices, was the heart of Penny. And I think she represents a lot of parents with special needs, knowing that they love their kids so much and they want the best for them and they want opportunities for them to succeed and to learn new things. And Camp Conquest provides that.
Yes, it does. And for so many parents, again, this is a community with over a 90% divorce rate that don't get a lot of opportunities to go on a vacation with these children. So it's a respite program for the parents to give them an opportunity to go and spend the week with the siblings of these campers.
So it really has a multiple purpose to the family.
Yes, very much so.
Well, there's some more aspects of Camp Conquest that we wanted to discover today. That's why I had the Prices come back. They were gracious to invite some folks who've actually participated in Camp Conquest number 1. And so they're here to tell us their story. We want to welcome one of the campers that's here today. And Ben Sumner is here. Ben, I want to welcome you to our program.
Thank you.
Also want to welcome a counselor. Lacey Throne was also part of Camp Conquest. And Lacey, it's good to have you.
It's great to be here.
Now, Lacey, how did you first hear about Camp Conquest?
Well, actually, Amanda is my doctor out in Arlington, and I was talking to her about special needs and all of that, and she and Mark have actually adopted a son with special needs, and she told me that I needed to get involved with Camp Conquest, and that's how it all started.
Now, I believe you are currently a student at the University of Memphis.
I am. I'm a graduating senior.
How does that feel?
Amazing. It's great.
Now, I think something that's pretty special here in your story, Lacey, is that really Camp Conquest did more for you maybe than for the camper themselves when you participate. I mean, it literally changed the direction of your career and your life.
It did. I started out as a nursing major when I started at the University of Memphis, and after volunteering for Camp Conquest, I actually changed my major to elementary and special education.
And what were you planning on doing prior to Camp Conquest, educationally speaking?
Well, I was going to be a nurse. I wanted to do the labor and delivery floor. I wanted to bring life into the world, and I thought that I was going to do that my whole life. And Camp Conquest completely changed my mindset. The kids, they touched my heart, and I knew that that's where I belonged.
Now, I understand the first little bit of time you were there, it didn't start out so good for you. It was a little challenging, wasn't it? There were some things you weren't expecting to take place.
Very much so. I was actually Annie's counselor when I started out, and she is nonverbal, so I had no clue what she wanted. I didn't know if she was happy, if she was sad, and I wanted her to have the best experience possible, and I felt like I wasn't giving that to her. And after talking to Amanda and Mark, they told me, you can't give up. She's having a great time. And as the week went on, I saw in her face that she was having a great time. And finally, I was like, yes, I'm doing it. I'm doing something right.
Well, Amanda, this is part of that story we were talking about earlier, that Camp Conquest is more also not just for the campers, but the campers, but also the volunteers. It can be really transformational.
Yes, I got the pleasure of talking to Lacey when she was having, a low moment at camp. And let me just tell you, God truly spoke through me when I was talking to Lacey, because I didn't really know what I was going to say to her. I knew she was frustrated. I knew she had been very challenged by having a camper that could not communicate with her the way she traditionally is used to communicating with people. So I really didn't know how to encourage her, but God truly spoke through me, and whatever it was I said, because I don't remember, because obviously the Holy Spirit was talking, but whatever I said worked, because Lacey hit the ground running, and she was an incredible counselor to Annie that week.
So, Mark, really finding young people like Lacey that are, first of all, open and willing to participate in Camp Conquest is really the first step.
Yes, it is, because if you think about this, we can hold camp in a lot of places, but without the volunteers, without the counselors, because we have a 1-to-1 ratio, and in some cases we have a 2-to-1 ratio. It just depends on if that camper needs extra help. Maybe they may be wheelchair bound and they need help into the shower. So we have a 1-to-1 ratio. Well, we can't hold camp without the leadership team and the counselors and volunteers. So it's first and foremost.
Yeah. And we want to just go ahead and put the word out right now. Volunteers are needed to be counselors for the 2014 season.
Yes, and that the volunteers ages 14 through 16, we use them to kind of behind the scenes set up activities, get the dining room ready, different areas where the counselors may need help. And then the 17 and up, 17 to 30, those are the counselors. We call them CTAs, Christians Taking Action. And we provide a full day of training before the campers arrive. So they know, they're pretty well trained by the time the campers get there what to expect. Camp songs, what the do's and don'ts while at camp. So that's and then we also need cabin moms and dads. To give you an idea of what a cabin looks like, each cabin has 5 bunk beds. We have 5 campers with 5 counselors in each cabin. And we'll have a cabin mom and a cabin dad over each cabin. And they kind of help keep that cabin on track throughout the day since the schedule changes. We have several different activities, lunchtime, breakfast, meals. And then we also give the kids some rest, the campers, from 1 to 2:30. They take a nap. And it gives the volunteers, the counselors, a time to recharge their batteries. And then we start right back up at 2:30, and it's go until about 9:30 that night.
Lacey, take us back to that turnaround point for you. After Amanda talked to you, you took her advice, and you decided that, hey, maybe I can do this. Talk about that moment.
Well, I left Amanda. She was in the medical office, and I left there, and I went back, and it was during nap time. And so I just sat there, and I prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed, and when Annie woke up that afternoon and I think we were going to the water slides, I was like, I'm going to make this the best experience for her. And I put a life jacket on her, and we walked up the stairs, and we went down the water slide, and she was not happy with me at all, but I knew that she was having fun afterwards. And from that moment on, there was a smile on her face the rest of the week, and it was so moving.
What are some of the other things that you learned personally about Camp Conquest?
I feel that I strengthened my relationship with God a lot. He spoke through me and to me that whole week that I was there with Annie and with all the counselors and campers, everybody. And I learned a lot about myself and what I can do and that I can make a difference.
Yeah, and that's what you've done, and that's so wonderful, and I appreciate you sharing that. Well, Ben, you are our camper, and you represent the campers at Camp Conquest.
That's right.
Now, was Camp Conquest your first camp to attend?
I've been to some camps like for 30 years.
Okay.
So like I've been at camp since 2011 and last year and then this year.
So you've had some other camp experiences before.
Yeah.
What about Camp Conquest? What did it mean to you to go to Camp Conquest?
Well, Camp Conquest, I think it changed my life there, and that camp was fun, and we had a lot of fun there.
Can you remember some of the things you did at Camp Conquest?
Yes. We did horseback riding in the water slide and canoes and the balloon six shots, that kind of stuff.
Wow, it sounds like you had a wonderful time. Was that your first time to ever ride a horse?
No.
Okay, so you're an experienced horse rider then.
Right.
Well, what about that slide? Now, what Lacey just told me, that slide sounds scary. Were you scared to go down the slide?
Yeah. I was scared a little bit, but
It's a pretty big slide, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
I mean, Mark, you were telling me about this slide, and I mean, this is not a little swimming pool slide. We had to realize that this was a slide that goes into a lake.
It does, yes. They installed the slide last year. It's a dual lane, 3-story slide into the lake. So you go up a series of stairs in a platform. It's all enclosed, and then you get to the top, and there's water shooting down the slide to help make it nice and smooth ride down. Mm-hmm. And all of the campers, we have 2 lifeguards at the bottom. And so it is a lot of fun. We actually have a video of that on our website. We put one of the GoPro cameras on our head and went down that slide. So it's a lot of fun.
And give us that web address.
www.campconquest.com.
And everything we're talking about here, I hope that you will engage that website. Look at the pictures, watch the video, and see the smiling faces and the excitement there, because it's all there on the website, and you can get that. Well, Amanda, we talked last time to Penny. We talked about some of the respite opportunities for families that they can, have a little break, But, it's fun because the kids get away, too, and have a break for themselves and maybe change their routine.
Absolutely. I don't know too many families that just own horses that their child can just get on a horse in the backyard or go down this humongous slide, which I will not go down, but I don't mind watching everybody go down. There's just so many opportunities for camp in general for children that, it doesn't matter if you're going to a regular summer camp or if you're coming to Camp Conquest. You can't walk away from there not having fun, because you're doing things that are usually outside of the norm of what you typically do.
Now, we shared last time that the Price family basically is the typical all-American family. You've got 4 children, and is that right? I'm not leaving anybody out, am I, this time?
Well, we have 5.
Well, that's right. You know what? You got so many kids, I can't, like Mother Goose, keeping up with all.
I know.
But just realizing that you've got 4, and then we've got a brand new addition, Noah. Has Down syndrome. He was adopted internationally. He's doing great, just in the family. Now, I believe this next season will be his first Camp Conquest.
Actually, we take children 7 to age 35, so Noah will have another year, but I will probably have him in the medical station with me, and I'll take him out for little bits and pieces of camp, but probably he will not get to go down that slide yet.
Mom won't slide down the slide with him?
No.
Again, as you make preparations for camp, what are some of the things you have to do? I know there's a lot of things that have to go into putting the camp on like this.
First and foremost, we need to get the volunteers lined up and registered. And of course, on the website, there is a volunteer tab where they can click on that and see some really neat photos and videos and some stories throughout the website from volunteers, as well as a registration form. One thing I do want to point out, the volunteers pay $175 to attend camp, and that strictly goes to the Grove at Red Oak Lake to pay for lodging and meals for the week. We don't get to keep any of that. Actually, we pay more than that for each person that's on the grounds for the week, but we have scholarship money that helps offset that cost. And so we need that in place. The campers always, we take next summer, 2014, which is June 6th to the 11th, we'll take 35 campers. And of course, we'll need that many counselors, and then we need cabin moms and dads and the leadership team. So it takes a lot of planning and preparation, and again, training. We have a full day of training for the counselors the day before the campers arrive.
Can I make a plug about that? I just want to emphasize that if there is a youth pastor that is listening to this program, we feel like this is a great opportunity for a mission trip for your youth department within the states to take for the summer. If you have a group of youth that are interested in doing this, and you could take the whole youth group into our camp to volunteer. A couple of years ago, we had about 25 or 30 youth from a church in North Carolina, and they traveled by bus all the way to Memphis to work our camp. And that was just such a special time of bonding and developing relationships for that youth that was traveling by bus, but they were equally as moved throughout the week working our camp.
Why Camp Conquest for you personally? I mean, you had a successful insurance company. You've got a family of 5. Amanda, you're a nurse practitioner. You stay busy with your practice in Arlington. Why the change of life? What was the call? Why did you decide to make this change and create Camp Conquest?
Well, it all started again back in my teen days when my parents took in 28 foster children, many of which had a special need. My little sister Lori had a special need. It then many years later started on a napkin, on a piece of paper, a dream, and then about 9 or 10 years ago, I showed Amanda that piece of paper, and I said, I would love to do this one day. Well, about 5 years ago, that piece of paper surfaced again, and I just called around the country to several camps that specialize in camps for children with special needs, got some great ideas. Camp Barnabas was phenomenal. They were wonderful, very supportive. They agreed to come over to Memphis and help us get a camp established here. They came for 2 years. And so this was our first summer solo on our own as Camp Conquest. And we wanted to give the kids an opportunity to do things outside of 4 walls, which many camps do. Arts and crafts and things of that nature are inside still 4 walls. We wanted to give them an opportunity, a camp-like experience. We also wanted to give the parents respite. And so and again, the hidden gem, like Amanda was talking about and Lacey, is what we see the volunteers experience, the joy and what they take from camp, and they just come away with a completely different spiritual walk. It's wonderful.
Going back to that transformation, across the board, not just the campers, but the counselors and all involved. I mean,
Yes.
You're really impacting families. And as we were visiting with Penny over lunch between the recording of the first program and the second program, I mean, Amanda, she was just talking about making sure things were covered in her home with Annie. She just couldn't go to Target or Walmart or Kroger anytime she wants to. She has to stop and think about it. So even having a week where she can go fix up Annie's room or do some things, just for herself, this gives her an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I was amazed when I was talking to her earlier about how much I truly take for granted the things that I'm able to just come and go as I please, and if I need to rush to the grocery store to get something right quick, I just hop in the car and take a few or all of my kids with me, and we hop in the car and we just run to the grocery store. But unless you hear from a mother who has a special needs child that can't just jump in the car and go, you don't really appreciate that until you hear what another parent has to go through, and then it's a very humbling experience, and it drives me even more to make this camp the best that it can be. And I know the driving force is God. He definitely has planted the seed in Mark from before we even met. And so I know that God had to lay some things in place. Mark had to experience being on some boards being on the board of directors for a couple of organizations in the community that specialize with children with disabilities. And so I think God was just preparing his heart, and then by preparing his heart, he prepared my heart, and then that's how we got here. From my point of view, is it was all God led. I mean, you were right. we had successful businesses. We have successful businesses. We're financially independent. Our kids are fed and they're clothed, and we have a warm home. And we had no children with special needs, and we could have just lived our American dream, but it just didn't feel. It didn't feel like it was enough. We wanted to reach out. We wanted to make a difference.
I was talking to a pastor recently. We were talking about getting in on the vein of Christ work and what he's doing and accomplishing,
Mm-hmm.
And we as followers of Christ are so much more fulfilled, aren't we, when we are in on what he's up to, instead of trying to create our own world and say, God bless this. Does that make sense?
Exactly. I feel more joy these days living God's plan than I did when I was trying to live Amanda's plan, because that wasn't really working out, and I wasn't as happy as I am now. I'm happy with simplicity. I'm happy just in small moments, spending quality time with my children and developing relationships. And even when I see patients, I enjoy that little 15 minutes that I have, and I try to get some personal conversation in there, because what it boils down to is relationships with people and loving your neighbor. And I mean, that's what we're all trying to get to.
Lacey, I think you kind of discovered that same thing too, didn't you?
I did. Every time I go see Amanda, it's a 15, 30-minute conversation just about my life. I can go because I'm having a horrible chest pain or my ears hurt or something, and she wants to know about my life. She wants to know everything that's going on, and it's amazing.
Now, how many doctors do that? I mean, my
None.
doctor, you don't see them that way, okay?
That's true.
Ben says the same thing. Ben, you agree with that?
Yeah.
Having a doctor that takes time for you, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, tell me about friendships for you, Ben. Did you meet any new friends at Camp Conquest?
Yes. I met some new friends as some. I met some new friends. Some few new counselors.
Nice. What did you think about your counselor who was in charge of you during the time? Do you remember that counselor?
No, but
That's okay. But I'm sure it was a good experience, though.
yeah, it was.
What did you like best about Camp Conquest?
Well, let's see. I like to show God's love to the whole camp, and to some other campers and counselors and the rest of the staff there.
Wow, Ben, God bless you. You brought tears to my eyes. I was just thinking about that, my friend.
Thank you.
That, and God's love shows up in some special places, doesn't it? Camp Conquest is one of those places, Prices. You want to comment on that?
I wanted to share a little story when Ben and I were sitting on the couch during a break time this past summer at camp, and Ben seemed like he was kind of down in the dumps about something. So I sat down next to him. I said, "What's going on?" And he said, I don't, you remember this, Ben? You were like, I just don't know about this Camp Conquest. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, Camp Barnabas was all about God, and I just don't know if Camp Conquest is. And I said, I can assure you that Camp Conquest is all about God. I said, all we've done is just pretty much change the name. Same people, same program, same agenda, and God is the center of it. And he was like, okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Do you remember that conversation, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, the question is conquest in the Bible?
Yeah, that was the question.
I haven't read it to see that in the Bible, but did you guys, I know, have it based, the concept of Camp Conquest is based, the Bible tells us that we are more than conquerors through Jesus Christ.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I guess that you could
Yeah.
say that Camp Conquest has the theme out of the Bible, Mark.
Yes, it does. And that was one of the things that we thought about in coming up with a name. We wanted to, so many of these campers and volunteers, surprisingly, overcome the challenges of going down a 3-story slide, getting on the back of a horseback, and doing the activities, some of the activities that we do. One of the things I'd like to mention too that we really enjoy doing, each summer we like to identify a camper and give that camper, if we feel that they have the ability to help us as a counselor. And this next summer, we asked Ben if he would consider that. And he agreed to do so. And so what we'll do is next summer, Ben will be actually a counselor to help with another camper. And so what we'll do is we'll team Ben up with another counselor, and those 2 counselors will take care of a camper for the whole week.
What do you think about that, Ben? Are you excited about that?
Yes.
What do you think you might get opportunities to do as a counselor?
Well, I'm supposed to like let the kids to be opportunity to do things in their lives.
Yes.
And like when some campers need to go to the restroom or have a drink, I say yes.
That is so great. Just finding little ways to help out, bathroom breaks, drinking some water after a hot day, and, enjoying camp. That's really a special thing, Ben.
Yeah.
Well, Lacey, are you going to ever come back to Camp Conquest?
I am. I plan on coming back next year. What kind of question is that?
She's actually on our leadership team, so she better.
Of course
Did
I'm
you know
coming
that?
back. I'm excited. I cannot wait for Camp Conquest. I got the amazing opportunity 2 years ago to help with camp, and then last year I didn't get to do it as much as I wanted to. I was there for a day and I got to help out, but this year I'm really excited about being there for the whole entire week and just being moved and meeting all the new campers.
Well, what would you say to someone maybe about your age, that has got the off for the summer, looking for opportunities maybe to serve? Tell them why they should participate or consider participating at Camp Conquest.
Like I said, it was such a life-moving experience, and you will never experience anything like this in your whole entire life. It's so special. You get to meet these amazing kids who people might look at and just brush them aside because they have a disability, but disability in itself says ability. They are able to do everything that we are able to do, and it's amazing to see them go horseback riding and go down slides and go swimming. And my favorite part about Camp Conquest is at dinner. They get to get up and tell jokes and sing songs, and it's the most amazing thing ever because they are in the spotlight. All eyes are on them, and I know it makes them feel awesome.
Now, I know there's something that Camp Barnabas does that's always special during camp, and I think they have like a group birthday party. Do you guys do things like that, Mark?
Oh, yes. And that, again, anytime someone wants to come out to camp to just see what we're doing, we always invite them during mealtime because that's when we have everyone in the same room. And if we have a birthday that day or that week, it is a lot of fun. It's something to see. Yes.
Okay. All right, now, as we close out our program, I want to make sure everybody knows that Camp Conquest is going to be June 6th through the 11th. And to register to get more details, go to the website, which is
campconquest.com. Lots of videos and photos, and there's registration forms for volunteers or campers.
And as Amanda, you already mentioned that youth directors, pastors, if you would consider maybe taking on as a project this week, maybe sending a team over of people, not just anybody, but people that really have a heart for kids, that want to just be available and be selfless for a week and just give of themselves.
Absolutely. And if they ever have any questions about it, they go on the website. And if they still have some questions, Mark's contact information is on there, his email address, his cell phone number. So he's very easily accessible. If anyone, a pastor or a volunteer or a parent of a child that they're considering sending to camp, if they have any questions or concerns, all they have to do, pick up the phone and call or email him, and he is always on the computer getting to those emails.
And Ben, you got a final word for us?
Yeah. Well, at camp, my favorite thing about camp is the cross carry thing. The cross carry this year was kind of different. The difference is we put the cross on the deck, and we put on the stand, and we put some piece of paper and put on the cross.
Yeah. Is that was very special for you then?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I wanted to say thank you so much, Ben. Lacey, I want to thank you too.
Thank you.
Mark and Amanda, thank you for day 2 on our program about Camp Conquest here on Bot Radio today. And I appreciate what each of you guys are doing for Christ's kingdom. And thank you for being on our program today.
Thank you, Byron.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have on today's edition of Mid-South Viewpoint. I do appreciate you stopping by. I'm Byron Tyler. Hey, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.